Well, let's get into some of that and what we're likely to see. Peter Maguire joining us from XM. Pete, great to start the week with you, as we always do. Thanks for joining us from XM. So let's first start a look at those performers. We'll get that chart up that you bring to us. What are the winners and losers at the moment as you see it?
Well, good morning, Andrew. I think, if you're looking as far as energy prices, we'll start with that. Weaker Chinese demand. Then the next part of it, there's a big chance that you could see OPEC adding about 180,000 barrels of production, which has been halted since about 2022. So that's just seeing just a big push down. We saw crude oil down 3.11% on Friday in New York, and Brent was smashed down as well, 2.4%. So the overall complex is weaker. People have been trading it short. And then if you're looking at that US dollar against all of those other markets, that's bounced a little bit to the upside at 101.73, but there's still plenty of movement there across the whole commodity and currency complex.
So let's take a look then what we're seeing at a macro level stateside. As I mentioned, lots of data. We've got jobs data coming out this week. Just first, though, turning our attention to Friday, and we did have the core PCE. That's the Fed's preferred measure of inflation. Look, pretty much coming in line with expectations. What do you think that does say in terms of what the Fed is likely to do this month at its meeting?
Well, I think first off, Andrew, if you're looking at Friday's numbers, then you'd be probably saying it's 25 and there's going to be no other decision made on that. But then we've got to see how that manufacturing and non-manufacturing ISM numbers are, I think Tuesday, tomorrow and Thursday, how they present themselves. And of course, as you mentioned earlier, non-farm payrolls on Friday. So as we roll through the week, by the end of the week, Saturday morning here, we'll have a very good understanding. If they're weaker than expected, then that's going to have concern naturally to the labour market, and that's what Fed Chair Powell's very much worried about. And if that's creating, again, no job opportunities and weaker economic growth, then I'm sure that that 35% probability of a 50 basis point cut materialises.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating month, isn't it? Just obviously, market's very excited about the prospect of a rate cut. Interesting to which way it goes, though. If it's 25, maybe the market will be underwhelmed, be disappointed. If it's 50, there'll be concerns that the economy starts to slow down. So it's still a narrow path the Fed is treading, isn't it?
Absolutely. And September's normally a bit of a month that it's fairly volatile and it'll bounce. So I'm just seeing, you're at all-time highs, and what you saw on Friday I thought was very, very strong close. S&P up just over 1%, NASDAQ 1.1 plus, and the Dow, at record territory. So, you can't say, you're at all-time highs, and that's a very positive thing as far as sentiment. We've just got to see if there are any hiccups that are going to derail that whole process leading into that, wonderful month that we call October.
Pete, where do you see the US dollar tracking at this point? Has obviously been near those lows, the 8-month lows, made a bit of a bounce just in the past couple of sessions. But obviously we're seeing that weakness on that prospect of these rate cuts.
Well, exactly, Andrew. I think, we've got to see those ISM numbers and those, as I mentioned, Tuesday and Thursday, how they drop, and naturally non-farm payroll. So I'm not expecting a big move as far as US dollar until you see some news events. So it might be just range bound over the next couple of sessions. It's been volatile and it's been great for trading. You've got that 1.10 sort of number for euro, 146 for yen. The Aussies sitting at 67, 65. So you might see, again, just range bound for a couple of days, and then when the data drops, that'll give us a clear indication as far as where we see that US dollar and naturally rate territory, and how that flows across as far as trading perceptions and whether you want to be short or long US dollar.
Another central bank of consideration this week, Bank of Canada. What can we expect?
Yeah. Bank of Canada, I've just got some notes here. Third consecutive 25 basis point cuts, pretty much baked in. There's a 15% probability, Andrew, of a 50 basis point cut. So that's where the mood is as far as the loonie. And naturally, if it was a 50 basis point cut, then that would really demonstrate to the market how the fragility of their economic positioning is. And that might be the warm up for their neighbours to the south, whether they're going to replicate that with another 50.
Yeah, what are you seeing with the loonie at the moment?
Well, big sell-off. When you're seeing that chart there, that's just, one-way traffic. over, a window of about a month and a half. It's been very, very strong to trade. So I wouldn't be surprised that we're, again, just waiting to see how those numbers drop. If you're looking at the technicals, it's certainly bearish at the moment. So let's just see if that continues to, trend south.
So, Pete, locally, there is a raft of data out, including today. We've got home prices, business indicators, inflation gauge, job ads, building approvals. That's just today. Then looking ahead, also got balance of payments, national accounts coming on Wednesday. What's the expectation about GDP?
Well, Andrew, I mean, all of that has got to be taken into, as those numbers drop and the evidence points to, a GDP positioning. Is it going to remain in that trend as we've seen, that softening phase, or are we going to see a bounce to the upside? I'm probably erring to the side that it's coming under more pressure as far as growth. So, that leads into the RBA's decision. Do they move prior to, early next year, or is it going to be, do we get a surprise? Again, you've just got to see how everything positions itself and the impact that naturally has feeding into the big data number, which is GDP.
And in fact, may well get some more hint as to what the RBA's next move is. Michelle Bullock's actually speaking a couple of times later this week.
Yeah, I mean, naturally, again, waiting for the numbers to drop, seeing as far as evidence from other central banks and looking at the global situation, where those numbers drop in the States, what happens here, and then the general theme rolling across. And of course, the positioning as far as China, what's happening there with growth. So all of that taken on board, it's a lot more to worry about than just a domestic, 26 million people in Australia. It's our exports and naturally, globally, how the growth is positioned leading into year end.
Yeah, and of course, as we sort of head into the US election too, just another thing to worry about as that approaches too.
2 months out, I mean, it's, you could talk all day about it, Andrew, and I'm not sure how the rest of this month goes and whether, Kamala is going to be the nominee. As I said, we've got 2 months to run, and there's plenty of speculation that she's a placeholder at the moment. So let's just see how that all rolls.